Alright, here is the video review for the PC, the Perfect Effect. Is it PC-09, I believe? There we go. PC-09 Perfect Combiner Upgrade Kit's the military version. It is comes in just a little flat little box like this. And it's designed for Bruticus, to match Bruticus. And I reviewed some of the earlier sets, and I wasn't super thrilled with them. They're not horrible, but I had a problem with some of the fingers, which you can see have been remolded, and I'll show those off a little closer later in the review. The feet are a little different. But my biggest issue was just finding a set that they all worked on properly, because I feel like I said, it works really well for Bruticus. I mean, like, look at that. That's a really nice-looking Bruticus, and I feel like in this case, it really does enhance the set. My biggest issue with them originally was that on some of the figures that had like the bigger arms, that would have like one of these characters as arms, the hands felt a little small in relation to the arm. Whereas the feet on some of the skinnier legs, especially like on Superion, the feet seemed too big in relation to the character. And I fixed that on with the black set that I got. I put the hands on Superion, and I put the feet on Defensor, and that worked out pretty well for me. There were still some stability issues with the ankles, and in general, but proportionally, I felt they worked okay with that. Now, in the case of Bruticus, in his default configuration, he's got the jet and helicopter. He's got the thinner arms, so the hands look good in proportion there, and he's got the thicker legs, so the feet look good in proportion there. And as a set, I think it really just brings this guy together. Like, I'm really kind of happy. Like, I'm much happier with it than I thought, aside from some other improvements that we'll get to here momentarily. Now, I did go ahead and cut that supporting peg off of Shockwave so he can hold him, because otherwise that square peg would prevent him from holding him, at an angle other than like that. So yeah, and the thing is, like, this peg does fit a little loosely in this 5mm peg in the hand, but because of this the way his arms come together, this little divot right here, and Blastoff's tail fin folded up there, it kind of holds it in place and keeps it from being too wobbly. It does seem to fit a little better than some of the other ones, but you can see it's a little loose, but when you plug it in there, that tail fin holds him right at the proper, like, pointing him forward angle there. So, yeah, I went ahead and snipped it off. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this set. I do think, unlike some of the other ones, this one really does, I think, enhance the combiner figure. I think Bruticus himself was already a pretty decent combiner by himself. Like, I don't mind the jet Blastoff. I did see we're getting the Takara one with the space shuttle, so I'm looking forward to that. I may pick that one up, depending on how much money I've got when that hits. But honestly, as a military-themed combiner, I don't mind having a jet instead of a shuttle up there. So onto the refinements themselves. You remember one of the things I didn't like about these was the fingers. And on this one, the fingers are much more finger-like. They're not as they don't just look like macaroni tubes. They're still a little skeletal, I feel, but having those thicker, squared-off fingers that look more like fingers instead of the tubes that the previous ones had. I'm really digging them. They also turn into the guns just like the other ones did. Just flip this around, unpeg it, fold this down, fold this peg down, kind of flip this up like a scope, and then fold these fingers on the back in. And you've got a little pistol, more of a rifle. I'm trying to be more accurate about that. But you can see you split it like that. This comes down and it can be held as a gun for smaller figures. I'm not going to disassemble the whole combiner here just for time reasons. But, well, actually, it's probably not going to work on Grimlock because of his arm guards. But in any figure that has a 5mm peg hole, including all the Combiner Wars figures, can hold these weapons as rifles. So there's Drift holding it. I got Classics Optimus over here. Let me get him over. Well, I got the Fire Guts version at any rate. So with this peg hole, you can use them on all of your existing figures if you wish, if you don't have the Combiner Wars. And like I said, of course, all these guys can do it. Now, the feet themselves, and I'm going to have to lay him down here to get this one off. Let me turn this back into a hand and stick it back on there real quick. One, the ankles are a little stiffer this time around. That was one of my big complaints originally, was that this ankle joint was really loose. And it's gotten a little looser since I got it, but it's supporting the figure very well. And while I do every now and then, if I have him at a certain lean, it'll start to collapse. It's doing a much better job of supporting the figure here on this ball joint right here. Also, they've added some little rubber pieces on the bottom here, some non-slip stuff just right up here at the toe, but that does help a little bit with the stability. They're not sliding out to the side even when you put them in wider poses, which is nice. And the guns themselves, you can see the feet are a little different from the originals, and the guns themselves are now these kind of hyper beam rail cannons here. A much cooler gun design, I think. You can open that up, you can fold this down, and there's a little peg here that flips out. You can use this foot peg as well, but let's just fold up like that. But then each one splits into two of these, which again will fit in any 5mm figure hands. Grimlock might be a little, no, not even from the bottom, but you can plug them in over the top as big laser rays. They're a little front heavy. So if you don't get them all the way in, like on Prime here, his fist is holding it up a little bit. They can be a little loose, but you can get a big cannon like that. You can have them held underhand as well, like that, if you wish to make them look like heavier guns. So all in all, I like the redesign on this. I feel like it improves. It doesn't completely negate all of my little qualms with it, but I feel like it is much improved from the original set of feet. I'd love to see that these get reissued for the other ones, because like I said, that tighter ankle and that slip resistant kind of rubber foam here on the bottom really makes a big difference. And like I said, the remolded fingers I think are just so much better than the original ones. I know some people who liked them, and if you did like those original ones, that's fine. I mean, like, it's all personal preference, but for me, I'm much happier with these thicker fingers and the guns and such. And like I said, proportionally, I think this really works on the Bruticus set in the default configuration. I think the hands look much better on the thinner arms, and I think the feet are much better on this proportioned, with Swindle and Brawl down here as the thicker legs. It just makes them a much more fully proportioned and fully functional combiner. So yeah, this one's getting a thumbs up from me. Like I said, I was down on some of the original sets, but in this case, I think it really works with the figure it's intended for. All of the changes to both the hands and the feet are welcome. There's a couple of little things that, like I said, it would have been nice if the hands could bulk up just a little bit more, or maybe if this first knuckle piece was a little shorter, because it does kind of make the fingers look a little long. But yeah, overall, I'm much happier with this set for Bruticus. Go ahead and plug Shockwave back in here. But yeah, so you can make him hold Shockwave, and very cool. Now, I've seen some configurations of this that have taken the original Combiner Wars hands and feet and attached them to his body. I haven't tried that yet, but I think even just the base robot, just stick those in a bin somewhere and put the Perfect Effect kit on, and I think it really improves the overall look of his combine mode.